Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a brand new show that's all about you, the backbone of our company, our incredible drivers. Get ready to roll with MVT's Ask and Accelerate. We're thrilled to kickstart this journey because we hold your feedback and comments in the highest regard. Your voices matter, and we want to make sure they're not only heard, but also acted upon. We believe in full transparency and open communication, and this show is our way of showing that we walk the talk. So buckle up for an exciting ride as we share what we're doing to enhance your employment experience with us. Your success is our success, and together we're going to drive MVT to new heights. We have a group of exceptional individuals joining us today, each who play a pivotal role in shaping the future of MVT. First, let's welcome the visionary leader behind MVT, the driving force that keeps us on the path to success, the founder and CEO himself, Mr. Royal Jones. Our Chief Operating Officer, George Chastain, brings a wealth of experience and passion for excellence to the table. He's here to dive into the nitty-gritty of our operations and share insights on how we're accelerating towards even greater heights. Also joining us is Monica Fuller as our Vice President of our U.S. Operations and Robert Pearson, our Vice President of Driver Recruiting. They're dedicated to ensuring your employment experience is second to none and are here to answer your questions and listen to your feedback. Together, this dynamic bunch is ready to roll with you, answer your questions, and provide an exclusive peek into the exciting developments happening here at MVT. Get ready for a show packed with insights, transparency, and the promise of a brighter future on the horizon. Hi, Royal. Thank you for being here for our first episode of MVT's Ask and Accelerate.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for being here. Thank you all for doing this. We're all about trucking. I was a trucker first, started driving at 18, bought my first truck at 19, so I've been playing this game for a little over 50 years, and I've made all the mistakes you can make, and started with one truck, eventually started MVT, where we grew, and all the way is looking for new and better ways to do that. I'll tell you, the way you do it is with good people. So I have surrounded myself with really good people who are the best at what they do, and that makes MVT and it makes me look better. Right here, next to me, I have my COO, George Chastain, who's been with us for 6 years. He came out of a big company in Indiana, much bigger than us, and he also ran their Mexican operation and quite a few other things. Then, thank God for us, he jumped ship there and came over to us and has taken us to new heights, especially on our Mexican operation. But now as COO, he's over all the operations for MVT. And you have Monica over here. Monica has been with us for 17 years. And throughout her career with us as a customer service, as a planner, whatever she did, she always excelled and was the very best at everyone who did that. No matter how much longer they've been doing it, she just always wants to be the very best. And then recruiting down here, Mr. Robert Pearson, he's been recruiting for 17 years. He knows all the angles and tricks, and he's heard all the questions, and he's a master of finding ways to bring us more good quality people, as again, the quality of the people that we have and what we do. And as you guys know as truck drivers, this is a lifestyle. It's not a 8 to 5, it's not a 40-hour week. It's every day that ends in Y is a work day, Sundays, holidays, Christmas Day. I mean, yeah, we try to get you off when you can, but trucking's all about working, and all the problems don't just happen from 8 to 5, Monday through Friday. So as you ask us questions, we are working constantly to be better at getting all these calls and issues fixed for you.
Thank you, Royal. So let's just jump right in. One of the main questions we received several times over and over again is both a question and a concern. We have drivers that are concerned about receiving some type of backlash or getting in trouble for something if they speak up, if they say something, if they have a question. Can you guys kind of talk to the best way for a driver to reach out if there is a potential problem or issue, and just how we work towards resolving their issues, and just how do we let them know that they're safe, that we're not out here to get them, that we really do care about their problem and we just want to make things better?
That's a great question. I think we pride ourselves on having an open door policy. Right, all drivers are welcome to provide feedback. Like Royal said, we need feedback to get better. Obviously, drivers can provide direct feedback to their fleet manager as well. I think there's an additional website and other avenues, Monica, if you'd like to.
So we also have a new website called Help Us Improve, which is going to let you anonymously report as well as put your name if you'd like to, and you can get us that feedback, whatever you have. We're open door policy, so whatever you need us to know, whatever you need us to follow up on, we'll definitely follow up on that.
I think it's important to also note, in this process, for this event, we got a lot of feedback, and Monica and I have read every single comment in question. I know, today we're not addressing every single one of them, but we have reviewed every single one of them, and we will address every single one.
Great. You're right. We did get tons of feedback. So thank you guys, everybody who took the time to send us in their questions, their comments. Thank you. We greatly appreciate it. So another big topic was pay related to things like breakdowns, layovers. How can a driver ensure that they're getting paid for those items whenever, or those instances when they happen?
So that currently is a manual process. The fleet manager is identifying that the driver needs to get paid, and then we upload it into a sheet that's then sent to payroll. It's not the best process. So we will be meeting with our fleet managers after this to identify where we have opportunities to improve and make sure that we're not missing out any money that needs to be paid out to any of the drivers.
We understand the importance of timeliness.
Yeah.
So like Monica said, we will definitely review it and make sure we are more timely in our process on that.
That's great. Also regarding communication, we saw a lot of comments around receiving responses in a very slow or there's just a lag between the time that they're sending in their inquiries or questions and them getting a response. Can you help us understand what is the best way for a driver to reach out to their fleet manager or dispatcher? Is there, even for me also, is there a difference? Should they be reaching out to a fleet manager first or a dispatcher? Are they the one and the same in our company? What does that look like?
One thing I want to comment on, and then I'll hand it off to Monica. One thing that we identified is probably 2-3 months ago. We identified an issue with our phone system, and so we have re-onboarded our internal phone system. We have remapped all of the phone queues, and we have it set up. We believe we have it set up for success now. Where a driver, if he calls in and follows, the prompts for his division or his fleet, he or she, they will get in touch with their fleet manager. Again, this is something that, we want to make sure the drivers are channeling those phone calls through that queue, and we want feedback whenever it isn't working. We're working on our staffing to make sure that we have people in these queues at all times. We know we have some weaknesses. Monica and I were talking about that earlier this morning. We do have a couple gaps on our schedule, and we're going to address those immediately.
And in regards to messaging, always send messages through the tablet. Always send messages through the workflow, your arrival, your departure, your loaded, your empty, as well as any free-form messages. And that goes to anybody that's watching the fleet. If you send a text back to our work phones, that only goes to that one person. But if you send it through the tablet, it goes to everyone watching the fleet, whether it's nights, weekends, days, whatever it is, lunch hours even. You'll always get an answer there.
Perfect. So I think what we're hearing is the most effective way to communicate with your fleet manager is through the tablet, or picking up the phone and calling. Is that still a good or valid option?
That's correct.
Okay.
Jackie, I mentioned earlier how I started as a driver, and then when we started having more than one truck, I had to learn all the way. And I've learned by getting better people. And as we've grown and grown and grown, we outgrow my ability. We outgrow the people around me's ability to be as big as we are. So what we've done now, as far as George and Robert came from much bigger companies than us. We recently hired a new CIO who's digging into this complicated phone system we have and making it better for not only us, but you. We're going to have it where when you call in, it's going to be traced, it's going to be tracked, it's going to be recorded. Somebody talks badly to you, we're going to know. And if you complain, we're going to go listen to it again and make sure that people are treating you right. Well, besides the CIO and all those things with communication that we're fixing, we just got a new customer service person who's going to not only help us with our customers, going to help you get the right loads and have the right loads sent to you in time, a pre-plan, so you don't have to sit there and wait for 3 or 4 hours when you're empty. And we're getting these people out of some of the largest trucking companies in America. A new salesperson to help us get dedicated runs so the driver can have a dedicated run where you know you're going to go to Albuquerque and back, or you know you're going to go to somewhere and back and get home and know when your home time is. Now, that's not for everyone, but some people want that, some don't. But maybe we're having more and more things for everyone. We just keep finding really good people to bring on board to make us better.
I think something that everybody's touched on so far is that we do see that there are areas that we need to improve on, and we are working towards doing that. And part of this show is just to help you guys recognize and see that we do take your feedback and comments seriously, and we are working to become better. We want to hear more from you because that's the only way we can grow and get better. So on to the next topic, which we hear quite a lot about, trucks not being ready. Drivers are assigned to a truck, whether it's a new driver who just came out of orientation, there's not a truck ready for them, or one of our current drivers, they take it in to the shop for some maintenance. There seems to be some lag time in when they're told it should be ready or expected to be ready and when it's actually done. How are we working as a company and then also with Penske to kind of help alleviate some of that drag?
Right. That's a great question. We have meetings with Penske on a weekly basis. Actually, Monica has meetings with them, I think, on a daily basis. We're constantly reviewing, how long it is taking to get a truck in and out of the shop. We have KPI metrics on them that we've established recently. We're looking at the number of days or hours or minutes in the shop. One exciting thing, that we've been working with Penske on is making sure that they have the shop staffed correctly, not only in El Paso, but also Laredo and Nashville and the outside markets. So, there is, as we, one thing that's kind of causing a little bit of this delay is we're actually taking out, between now and the end of the year, we're taking out 200 trucks and we're adding 200 trucks, new trucks, right? So, we continue to invest in the fleet. This, refresh has put a little bit of a strain on some of their resources. And so we're working through that with them to make sure that we're properly aligned. So, but we are getting new trucks, so it's very exciting.
It's actually 500 new trucks for this year, and which means 500, we're not adding. So 519 models are going away and 524 models are coming in, which further helps with a more modern, newer, less breakdowns, a way better truck, just because it's newer. I mean, newer is always, but they are very good. And that's got Penske swamped. And in and of itself, just because you got 40 trucks they got to make unready and 40 ones they got to make ready for you to come in and get. So it's quite the job. And they have promised to us they're going to increase their hours of the day and increase their staff in the shop to get this done.
We also have a shared document where the fleet, as the driver calls in, the fleet manager enters the driver name, the time and date that they're going to be ready, so that we have visibility to how many trucks we actually need for drivers that are coming out of home time, that are coming out of orientation. So not only are we looking at the drivers that trucks are in the shop and assigned to that truck, but we're also looking at the drivers that are coming off home time, so we can better work with Penske.
That's a really good point from a process standpoint, and I think that we need to make sure that everyone's aware of that process. Because to Monica's point, it is how we hold Penske accountable. We're also meeting with driver recruiting operations, driver recruiting equipment. We meet twice a week to review, the incoming classes, to make sure that not only our existing drivers are, have their trucks and they're going to be able to, be ready to roll, but also anyone coming on board has a positive experience as well.
We only get one chance to make a first impression. We appreciate when someone chooses MVT versus our peers. So we definitely want to over-communicate with the operational team, with Penske, and a number of other people that you don't necessarily see behind the scenes that take care of this, to make sure that your truck's ready for you, that your hotel accommodations are good, and a whole litany of other things. If there is a problem when somebody's on board, the biggest thing, and I can't emphasize enough, is communication. If you talk to your recruiter, just because you're in orientation, your recruiter's job's not done at that point. If you talk to your recruiter during that process, or if you refer a driver, which I would suggest for $1,000, we will definitely make sure that gets taken care of for you immediately.
So we received a question regarding our triangles. On those routes and divisions, we had a driver ask if adding more local drivers to the triangle runs would help those lanes run more efficiently from an operational standpoint. Can you help us understand whether that would be a good idea or not?
That's a good question. Right now, and for those who don't know those triangles, it's we have Division 300 and Division 200. Division 200, obviously, we'll starting in El Paso and then running California, Denver South, and then 300 to DFW, Colorado, I guess Cheyenne as well, then South. What Monica and I were reviewing this recently, and what we discovered is from an alignment standpoint of operations and sales, we're working on actually finding better freight in those divisions. We're looking to upgrade some of our customers. We have a very large customer on one of those triangles that's very, very good for us. But what we're constantly looking for is how to improve the freight, how to land more drop and hook business that allows our drivers to make better turns. Additionally, with regards to the local drivers, we are reviewing our local drivers and trying to figure out ways to get more utilization on them, to provide more support for our over-the-road division. We're adding KPIs. We have a meeting on it this afternoon, actually. So, we do recognize the importance of the speed in the turn of that triangle. And we've identified some opportunities to add some customers on those lanes and also get a little bit more activity on the locals that we have.
And keep in mind, the best way for a person, say you're going into Denver Saturday night and the load doesn't deliver till Monday. Well, yes, you can take it to a yard and drop it, then we got to go redeliver. Isn't it nice if you have a customer, which we're working on, that's open they're not open for receiving, but they're open. They're going to let you in 24 hours. You're going to pull in there and drop that loaded trailer, pick up an empty, then run over to our yard and drop that empty and pick up a loaded that was already loaded by somebody, and here you go. That keeps us from having to have those extra locals and have those extra yards. So the more we can find customers, it'll work with us that way. The more we'll...
Yeah, locals are obviously an integral part of those triangles. We think we can make them even better with some enhancement on the customer side.
Some really good insight. So one thing that is always a big topic of conversation is driver pay. We have a lot of drivers, not a lot of drivers, but we did receive some comments saying that there are certain drivers that haven't received pay increases in a couple of years. I know that we worked quite a bit over the last few years, you specifically, Robert, to help just bring our driver pay up to what's comparable for the rest of what everybody else is seeing. Can you tell us a little bit about what we've done over the past couple of years, the changes that have been made this year, and then also just kind of chime in on if a driver feels like they haven't received an increase, just what the proper process is to make sure that all of that's taken care of?
We do pretty detailed competitive analysis in every market that we operate to make sure that we're paying our drivers an equitable wage. With that said, like any other carrier, we want to be profitable. We have to be profitable in order to survive. But we also know that a driver has to be able to make a living, be able to pay their bills. There's most likely a teammate back at home that wants to make sure your paycheck's healthy as well. Last year, we had about 18 different pay increases through various divisions within the company, including some local positions, some divisional changes. This current freight environment is substantially different than last year. With that said, we're not one of the carriers. There's been a couple carriers that have pulled back pay on drivers. We've not done that. We've not even had discussions on doing that at this point. Our big thing right now is in the current environment, making sure that you're still in a competitive market where you're saying the guy next to me is probably making the same thing or close to it. It also takes into account what you as a driver does as far as a sacrifice. And I'll give a couple of examples. If you live in Phoenix and you do Division 210 or you do Division 220, what you do on a daily basis is very different. That 220 driver makes a sacrifice of going into the mountains routinely. So that 220 driver tends to make more than that 210 driver. With that said, I know the operational team works really hard with the drivers that are you in the right division? What's important to you? Is it home time? Is it money? Is it the type of freight? Is it the drop and hook? All those factors go into what a driver makes. And so what I'd suggest for any driver is if you're not happy with your paycheck, first have the conversation with your fleet manager. Am I in the right division? And then have the conversation at home. What's the priority for me? Is it home time? Is it freight? Is it the amount of money that I make? And that honest conversation will generally put you in a bucket that you're more likely to be happy with. That's one of the nice things we have here at MVT is in most of the markets that we operate, we're more than a one-trick pony. So if you don't like what you're doing today, tomorrow you can be doing something else. So keep that in mind. Have the conversation with your family and have the conversation with your fleet manager about what your priorities are. And you may find that we can improve your money situation, or you may find that you're in a division that you want to be in.
In regards to, pay for local drivers, how would they go about inquiring about a pay increase? How does that work?
Yeah, currently on local drivers are, I believe they're reviewed annually.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, reviewed annually.
Yeah, and so actually those the process for it is Robert is constantly doing, like he said, market analysis in all the markets. Once a driver has hit their 1-year anniversary, a local driver, then their wage is reviewed.
How long does it take to do a driver pay analysis generally?
Generally, each market takes about a week. I would say this too, and one of the important things for any driver is do not do your market analysis at the truck stop. It will not go well for you. You will go to the truck stop and someone's going to tell you, I'm making 75 cents a mile. What they're not telling you is they're getting 1,500 miles a week. What they're not telling you is they're doing flatbed and they're tarping every single load and they're dealing with coils. There is a reason why a driver gets some kind of rate that seems too good to be true. Same thing with local drivers. So if you're a driver in Albuquerque and you say, I found a local driver that's making $30 an hour. He is breaking his back, hand unloading every piece that's in that trailer. So keep in mind that you do not want to do your market analysis at the truck stop. You will not like the answers and you are going to be very confused, as I was just at a truck stop last week.
So also and related to pay, we got a lot of questions around the safety and fuel mileage bonuses. Can you start by just telling us a little bit, probably you, Royal, best, about those bonuses, why we have them in place?
Well, obviously, someone else asked, with so many people going broke, how's the situation at MVT? Well, we're not going broke. We're watching every penny every day, and trucking is a very penny-oriented deal. I mean, a penny, if we run 15 million miles a month, a penny is $150,000. If we can save a penny a gallon and we're burning 2 million gallons a month, that's $20,000. So yes, we're looking for pennies every day. And 72 takes so much more horsepower to push this heavy thing through the wind and parasitic drag and rolling resistance that it takes that much more horsepower. That not only am I going to burn a lot more fuel, I'm going to wear the whole truck out sooner. So I suggest if you want to go 72, you might want to go somewhere where they allow that, or buy your own truck. We can sell you a truck or put a lease truck and they'll let you go 70. But you're going to be buying the fuel and you're going to be paying for the tires. And then we just hope you don't wreck, because wrecks are way worse at 70 plus than they are at 65 and less. I mean, way, way worse. We've studied it. Remember, I've been doing it for 50 years. I had someone else ask on the fuel mileage, well, why do you, they were asking about the rear end situation we have, the 6x2 versus the 6x4. Well, the average person in the United States thinks that when you get in a slick road situation, you got 2 rear ends, right? And you lock the power divider in, they think it gives you all 4 sets of wheels pulling like a 4-wheel drive pickup. Not true. Whenever you have a 6x4, it gives you the right front and the left rear, and you have these 2 sets pulling. In our trucks, you only have the front rear end and you have a tag axle behind it. So when you flip that switch that locks the power divider in, we also have it hooked to a switch on the bags that lets some of the air out of the back bags and puts more weight on that drive axle. And our truck, I promise you, will go around all the other trucks on ice and snow. And at 25 miles an hour, the system kicks off and turns all that off and puts the air back in it. So just remember, if you're in a slick road, as soon as you get in the slick, make sure you're not spinning the tire and turn on that Positrack or interlock, and you'll drive around all the other guys. And it saves about 50 horsepower. So your also truck will run better up a hill with the same horsepower because we're not using so much of that horsepower. The incentive on fuel mileage, I think it's at the company average of around 9. If you average 9, you get another penny a mile, and you can get up to 4 cents. We have a lot of trainers that are making a 4-cent bonus off their fuel mileage. Then, of course, you can always win he or she with the best fuel mileage for 3 months. Gets a brand new car, provided your logs are perfect and you have no accidents. And you can win $25,000 at the end of the year for the best fuel mileage. It becomes a game, guys. And if you're out there running all the time, what do you got to do better than learn how to play the game better? We recently had a guy who had driven for us for 7 years. Then he went to work for the shop, listened to my shop guys every morning, learned how to do all these things. Came back, he actually lives in Juarez, and his wife's from Juarez. He didn't even have a car. He walks across the bridge. He came back to go over the road at our last deal, and he says, I'm going to win the car. I'm going to get a brand new car. And you know how he did that? He got the best fuel mileage for 3 months, and now his wife has a brand new car. You can think, if you think you can't do it, you can't. If you want to win, you'll find a way to win.
So with our fuel and safety bonus is both quarterly, we give a monthly actually for the drivers, and then there's the opportunity to win the car every quarter, and then the grand prize at the end of the year, the $25,000. Who should a driver reach out to learn more about what they can do in order to achieve those goals? Become part.
It's a great question. We've got a driver development team that's a dedicated resource to help our drivers. You know, the driver development team is not simply the team that's policing the drivers to tell them all the things they're doing wrong. They're there to help the drivers, help them improve, and they're a great resource for you to hit this bonus.
We recently learned that we didn't learn, we knew, we made the change. We made some change to the idle time in the program to help just make that goal or that bonus a little bit more achievable, specifically for solo drivers. Can you tell us a little bit about that change?
Yeah, the real focus and what we're trying to accomplish here is we want you to hit the fuel economy metric, right? That's what we want. Obviously, idle time is directly correlated to that. It's going to be harder to hit if you idle. So I think, in the end, to hit, a good bonus on fuel economy, you're going to have minimal idle, like UCAPU. But we did lower a parameter there to, I think it's 0.2.
Yeah, we went from 10% to 20%, and we also lowered the miles you have to hit for the quarter because of two things. Obviously, the whole world's on e-logs, but it's also been a slow time for the last year or so, and we're coming into bad weather, so it's harder and harder to get the miles no matter how much you stay out there. So we're just making the target a little, and again, we do want you to get better fuel mileage because it makes everything last longer, makes the trucks last longer, it's safer, and gets you home safer with your family.
So another question that we received a lot of, received several times, is drivers have a lot of concern or worry, fear around watching other carriers close over the last couple of years. There's been huge layoffs, just companies closed down overnight without any warning to those drivers or their employees. Can you guys share with us where MVT currently stands and how we're doing as a company?
We're actually doing okay. We've had some bad months, as everyone has. The freight market fell off. For 2 years, we went through a beautiful trend of freight. We were so needed. The freight rates just went up. Used equipment went up. And zillions of people came into the industry and bought trucks that have no business being there. Well, then all of a sudden, the world got caught up with the amount of product. We had the shortage through COVID. All the warehouses were full last year. Last year in October, we saw the decline. Usually in October, we see it go up for Christmas. People realized they had so much stuff in their warehouses, they slowed down. Then the brokers took over and started lowering the rates. And then all these poor guys that got trucks that didn't have fuel surcharge and didn't have contracted rates are dependent on the brokers, and they're going out of style. They're going out of business fast as can be. So we're hanging on. We're in way better shape. We're not worried about going out of business or anything, but we are definitely, and this again is why we have to watch every penny. So the same guy who wants to go 75 but is worried if we're going to go broke, that's who's going to make you go broke. You can't give in. You have to be steady. You got to just keep rocking the boat and just pushing, and be as efficient as you can in every way, every day. And that's he or she who does that lives.
Yeah, one comment there that Royal made. Freight actually, we were in a very positive freight environment really since 2018, right? And for roughly the last, let's call it since last October, roughly 11 months. We've technically been in a freight recession since that time frame. Freight runs in cycles, right? It's up and down. Typically, an up cycle is 12 to 18 months. Typically, the down cycle is the same. We've now been in this down cycle roughly 12 months. The economic research that we subscribe to suggests that things are really going to improve in 2024. With regard to Q4, are we going to see a traditional busy season? We are starting to see some of our customers ship. We're seeing pockets of strength in the freight economy right now. And so, we believe that all the things that we do right now, doing things the right way, is really going to pay off for us in 2024.
With the down cycle, we've seen drivers who aren't running as many miles as they used to, or as they could before. Ultimately, that results in a little bit lower pay for them. What would you tell them, specifically you, Royal? You are a driver, you know what it's like to not have the miles that you need or that you expect. What would you do to help or say to them?
The biggest thing for a driver to do, and I realize we have all these different divisions now where you only do this, you only do that, but if your division's slow, there's no rule against jumping into some other division that's busy right now, maybe, and you just can't be so picky. I get guys all the time, I'm not getting miles. Well, why not? Well, they had a load to Dallas, but I didn't want to go. So what'd you do? I stayed home. Well, how many miles was that? When there's a run, you got to run. And you got to depend. This is where if it's holiday coming up, think about it. holidays that are tough, like Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving's on Thursday. Well, where do you want to be? Home? Well, who doesn't? So if you're in on Sunday and we offer you a load to Dallas, deliver Monday or Tuesday, and you don't want to go because you're afraid you won't get back, that's where we have to be honest with you, and you have to believe in us that, hey, I'm going to get you to Dallas. I'm going to get you back. Now, obviously, if you're going to New York, you're not coming back, but maybe you have a grandmother that lives in Pennsylvania. We'll get you to see her for Thanksgiving. But you got to be flexible, and you got to show us what you need, and we'll find a way to get you out there and back. But that's the problem with over-the-road trucking, is that we go so far that it's hard to work around these holidays. But the answer is not to not work. It's to find something that I can do and I can get back.
You mentioned, you've got to be honest, right? MVT, our commitment, we will be honest with you, the driver. Driver, you be honest with us. That's critical. One of the things that Monica and I are working on, we're really taking a deep dive with our new CIO into our systems, right? So we're trying to squeeze out every mile, right? We're trying to find every mile, every minute, every hour of a clock, right? So I would encourage, have good PTAs, have good ETAs, and we're going to do our best to squeeze every mile out of that clock.
That makes a lot of sense. So let's talk a little bit about the future, the near future here at MVT. George, can you tell us a little bit about some of the developments we have going on and just things that we're doing to help our drivers make their work life a little bit more better, for lack of better words?
Some of the things that Monica and I have identified, that is on the short-term roadmap. Let's call it 12 months, right? So within the next 12 months, we are going to get you navigation on the tablet. We're going to make that commitment. Our CIO has made that commitment to me. We will figure it out. We have a meeting with Platform Science, I believe, later today, also tomorrow, and that's got to be the priority of the meeting. There are some hurdles we have to overcome to get it right, but I'm excited about that, and that is something that every driver that drives for MVT deserves that. Additionally, some of the other things that we're working on, we recently made some enhancements to the MVT app, specifically related to the scanning of the BOLs, the signed BOL, and we're excited about those enhancements. These enhancements are going to help solve some of the issues that we had historically where,
maybe the image isn't clear.
Image isn't clear. Yeah. So there's been some serious enhancements around that. And we're going to be rolling out some additional instructional videos on that, trying to, bring the awareness. Very, very excited about that. From a leadership standpoint, I am excited about, the leadership at MVT who's been added to the team. For all MVT companies recently, we added a new CIO, Corey Gokes. Corey specializes in driver-facing technology. So I'm very, very thrilled about that. Recently added a new VP of customer service. Recently added a new VP of business development. So, we're going all in. We're committed to the future of MVT, and we're committed to the driver.
Will, do you have anything you want to add?
I want to answer another question someone had asked. They said, well, instead of offering, besides the money we offer for fuel mileage, as a driver, if you get better fuel mileage, the truck will go faster. The trucks are programmed at 65 or 66. If you get better fuel mileage, it'll go 68, and it'll eventually go 70. Well, if you don't know what you're doing, all that'll do is get your fuel mileage back down. And that's what this person said. It's counterproductive. Well, it's only counterproductive if you got to use it all the time. If you ride the top of the pedal like you should and keep the manifold pressure down, as a driver, when you get this fixed clock that says I'm stopping in 11 hours, yeah, I want to go faster, but I can't let you go faster unless you can do it easy. So if you keep the fuel mileage up, I'll drive from Las Cruces to LA for you, or to Las Cruces to Deming. You head towards Deming from Las Cruces, it's slightly uphill and you always got a headwind. So you got to just roll out of that throttle and keep it down around 65. Maybe don't even go 65. Just keep that manifold pressure down and keep it. Then you get out there, when you get to the Continental Divide, about 20 miles from Lawrenceburg, anything would go 70, 75 miles an hour with no touching the throttle. So now you're going to pick up 70, 72 miles an hour and ride on the top of the pedal. You're going to roll all the way into Lordsburg, and then as you go through Lordsburg, you got to slow down anyway, so it's slightly uphill. It's going to slow you back down to 65. And then you go up there. As soon as you get past that, you got the salt flat out there. So you can just let her eat down the salt flat. And as soon as you start up that, you're going to go up Klein or Steins. Steins is an old ghost town. And as soon as you top that out, it's downhill to San Simon, baby. And this truck's going to walk the dog. It'll go 70, 75. Speed limits to that. You're on top of the pedal. You're getting great fuel mileage. If you've earned this 70 miles an hour, now you have a truck that'll do that. If you just sit there and mash it all the time, pretty soon it's going to be back to 65. And as you roll into San Simon, hopefully you get a green light and you keep rolling. Anyway, I can give you the whole rest of the way to Tucson. I've done it so many times, and I think about it in my head, and I know how to get great fuel mileage and go faster than everybody else. And remember, I've been there and done that. I hired these people to do all the smart stuff. I'm the truck driver.
George, you had touched on adding to our leadership team. Can you tell us a little bit about what we're currently doing for our leadership team and our managers in place just to help them improve?
Yeah. We're reviewing a lot of our training materials. We're also, reviewing a lot of our processes as well. In addition, we've also done leadership training. We continue to subscribe to that. We're constantly channeling individuals through a leadership development course that lasts about 6 weeks. So, we're a company founded on respect, and, that is definitely part of that leadership.
Robert, I know you spend a lot of time just working on the betterment of your employees. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, and it kind of goes into the overall company as a whole here. In recruiting, I have to explain why would you come to MVT. And so I could talk about the equipment. We have OTR equipment for a regional fleet, really. It's a truck that's spec'd out for somebody standing on the road weeks at a time. It could be a lot of features, but the real big MVT difference is we have about 41 years of success, but we don't rest on our laurels. George, since he's been on his role, every meeting like a war chant is we have to improve. Monica, there in her position, is OCD at her desk. We have to improve. Royal has literally lived it for 41 years, and it gets into that leadership part of the company here is we recognize there's a lot of things that we have there that are big and impressive and positive. But at the end of the day, a driver's success is really built on us setting them up for success. And so we recognize that it's not a small thing that's asked of us. And so we take a lot of pride in that, and that's probably the MVT difference that I'd kind of point to more than any other. Specifically with my team, my team's built of people that started with the organization and worked their way up. I have a recruiting manager named Amy, and Amy started as a front desk receptionist, and she's wore about 5 different hats to this point where she's a leader in my department. I have a gentleman named Robert Rubicaba who, same thing, started with the company, was a recruiter, worked his way into management, went back to recruiting, and now he's a very refined and empathetic person dealing with drivers. He's an asset to us. We have a very diverse, multi-continent department at this point that really comes from all walks of life. And in recruiting, if you're going to be successful, it's not that you're the best salesperson, it's that you have empathy and you care about the driver. If you are chasing down a number or trying to put another notch there, you're not going to last as a recruiter very long. But if you legitimately want to make somebody's life better, this is a great company to do that, and we have a team that aggressively pursues that.
To those points and the things that he's surrounded himself with good people that he found here when he got here and recognized their talents and has further helped them gain in their lifestyle and in their job style. At MVT, you know how many people we have that have been here 17 years, 20 years, 30 years? Drivers. I got drivers 30 years. We have over 300 drivers that have 1 million miles or more. We have some guys with 7 and 8 million miles. There's not many companies that have 300 drivers with 1 million miles. I don't mean 1 million miles overall. I mean 1 million miles at MVT. Who was it? They got 7. Our shot, Carl. Carl's story's been with us for, over 30 years, and he's got so many miles. Just a good guy. He's been with us not since we started, but pretty close to it. But a lot of times in the mornings after I go to the gym, I stop by the Las Rusas shop at 7 and drink coffee with the guys. Well, there's always some truck driver coming in. This morning, Charlie Jones. We didn't know how long he's been here. But in talking to these guys, they're going to tell me all the issues that they're having. And then I'm going to talk to George and Monica and say, hey, you know what? I'm not complaining, just letting you know. Carl Story said this happened. Oscar Peters said that happened. You know what I mean? Victor Meyer says this happens. These are guys well respected, have been here, guys with millions of miles and tons of experience at MVT. And whenever they talk, we listen. because we know that they're not just coming up with stuff. It's all true.
Yeah, they get great fuel economy. They're always on time. Those are some honest guys.
It consistently why our best hires continue to be driver referrals at this point. At the end of the day, you know, we're a carrier. We have 0 CSA categories above threshold. That's because of our drive. We have numerous awards on an annual basis for our performance. And in a world where freight's not going that well, there's 2 ways you can compete. You can be the carrier that wants to be the cheapest and you want to undercut everybody. I'd strongly suggest against it. Or you can be the one that comes in and says, I want to have the best service. I want to have the best fleet on the road. If we're not there, we're probably at the top and we're near that list. And that's why most of the hires that we really enjoy that come in here and produce the most right off the bat are ones that come from drivers. The 7 million milers referred a couple folks. Those referrals make a big deal to us. And so even in this down environment of freight, somebody saying, I know somebody with a safe, stable work history who's a professional on the road, that has a lot of value to us right now. And so we should keep the referrals coming because that's going to be the next wave that's going to get the next wave of 1 million miles.
One of the largest managers of freight in North America is Ryder. Not the broker Ryder, but the actual the freight manager, right? They on the 4PL side, you know, we run a lot of freight for customers that they ultimately manage on the 4PL side. Next week we get to go get our 5th consecutive Carrier of the Year award with Ryder. There's about 15 accounts underneath that, and that's based on performance. That's based on the drivers being on time. That's awesome. So we're very thrilled and excited about that. Like Robert was saying, we're competitors and we're competitive. We want to win, and you're on our team.
We're competitors and we're winners.
Yeah.
If you don't want to win, we don't really want you on the team. Sorry. We don't need losers. I mean, that's
I think it's our natural human tendency to always want more, but as MVT, we're always going to choose quality over quantity, and I think that goes to show through our employees, staff, drivers, our leadership team, our equipment. It's always going to be quality over quantity. Yeah. So we received tons of comments. We received over 900 comments from all of our drivers. Lots of questions, feedback. All of it is valuable and important. Something that we saw that really surprised me a little bit was we have so many drivers wanting to know how they can help contribute to the company's success. How would you guys answer that question, or what advice or feedback do you have for the drivers?
I'd say just keep doing the best you can. Be on time for the customers. Get the best fuel mileage to help us save money and make yourself some more money. Be safe as you can be for the community, the other people on the street, and for you, so we can make sure and get you home safely to your family.
Do you guys want to add on to that?
I think he said it pretty well.
Yeah, I definitely agree with everything he said. We want you safe on the road. We want you making money, and we want you on time. And if you ever need anything, let us know. Your fleet manager, your division operations manager, myself, George, even a Royal marketing team, we care. Whoever you need to let us know.
Yeah.
It goes back to George mentioning earlier on about our open door policy. That's really for all departments. Drivers can reach out to anybody if they, I run into them at the yard. I may not be able to help them with something operationally, but I can get them to the right person.
Yeah. Yeah, and in MVT, we always find a way, right? We do things with integrity, with honesty, and we find a way.
Great. Well, Royal, George, Monica, Robert, thank you guys so much for joining us on our first
Thank you.
Ask It Excel.
Thank you, guys. And thank you all for watching.
As we wrap up this segment, remember that your feedback and questions are invaluable to us. We're committed to making your experience at MVT even better, and your voice drives our journey forward. Stay tuned for exciting updates, and until next time, keep rolling with MVT.